What is up, everybody? It's Friday night, so you know what that means. Pour yourself a stiff one, roll yourself a green one, sit back and relax because it's shooting the shit uncensored. And I am your host. I am the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And we are brought to you live by Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance on Facebook and on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram and on Twitch, wherever you're finding us. As long as you're finding us, that's all that matters. But tonight I am joined by a very special guest. But before I bring him out, I just want to take a quick second, a quick pause to thank some sponsors to pay some bills up in this little bitch right here. And that is, first up is A-Rock Designs. Now, A-Rock Designs is that company you see all over the wrestling Facebook groups, the Facebook pages, the Instagram pages. They make wrestling cups, hoodies, keychains, T-shirts, tumblers. They made me the special CM Punk tumbler, which I absolutely love. I'm a huge mark, even though Bin Hameen has me calling it CM Cunt tumbler. But anyway, we digress. Next up is Signal Studios. So, guys, if you're an independent professional wrestler, you need to get your hands on some dope entrance music. It makes your character, it makes everyone stand up and go, yeah! But even if you're not an independent wrestler or you're a musician, you need a place to record, a place to rehearse, a place to relax and get your creative juices flowing. Then you need to head over to Signal Studios. My boy Rafi, he can mix, master any type of track that you want and send it out to you anywhere in the world. Or, like I said, if you need a place to rehearse, a place to relax, a place to get your creative juices flowing, you will rewind. You will not find a better place than Signal Studios. Now, guys, I can see everyone in the comments. Everyone's starting to line up. We got a few people here. We got Gary. I believe Gary's from the UK. Thanks for tuning in. We got Kyle from Sydney. Thanks for tuning in, bud. We got Wrestling Fan from somewhere in the world, wherever you are. Wrestling Fan, thank you. I am good. Thank you for tuning in. Joel Southgate, he's here as well, so thanks for tuning in. But guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring him out. This dude is probably one of the biggest dudes I have ever interviewed. He has probably the biggest back I've seen on any human being, next to Brock Lesnar. Maybe he's bigger than Brock Lesnar. I don't know, but we'll find out. Guys, he is one half of the tag team BackPain. He is Backman Lex. What's up, big fella?
G'day, Piers. I'm good, mate. How are you?
Mate, I'm pretty good. It's Friday night. I get to sit back and have a conversation with yourself. So I've been looking forward to this all week, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and do the show.
Mate, no worries. Appreciate you having me on, Big fan of the show, so can you get into it?
Oh, man, that's incredible, man. But, wrestling started to open back up late last year, man. And I first saw you at PWA show, Wrist Locks and Pile Drivers, where you pretty much launched Kingsley about 50 yards, which is, I don't know, 50 meters, 50 yards, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from. But
it was a long way. That's what it was.
Dude, that was one of the most craziest things I'd seen. And that was the first match I'd seen of yours. And right then I was like, I have to get this guy on the show. This guy is super talented, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And, as soon as I saw Kingsley, I'm like, I have to pounce her. It had to happen. So that's what happened.
Oh, absolutely, man. But, getting into it, man, like, when did you start wrestling, dude? Like, when did you find it as something that you wanted to get into?
So it's a long story for me. So I used to live in a place called Canberra. It's the capital of Australia. And essentially all I did one day, I was just 18 or 19. I was like, I'm just going to Google wrestling. Been a fan all my life. Maybe some training up here. And it came up with one dude's number. That dude's number was Mikey Broderick. I don't know if you follow much of Mikey Broderick, but pretty much he's pretty much the biggest wrestler in Canberra right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he took me in. There was another bloke there called Lightning Luke Watts, aka the Jaguar Kid, and also Crofty. They took me in. There was no wrestling ring. We had to train in a boxing ring for about a year and a half before we actually had a wrestling ring. So literally my first match, I've been training in a boxing ring for probably about a year leading up to it. And I took my first bump in a wrestling ring in about 8 months during my first match.
Wow. And how was the match compared to training? Were you like, wow, this is different?
It was different because I I've been used to like falling down to the ground because I did judo for 11 years as well when I was a kid. So anything compared to those judo mats is just a cloud. So I was absolutely fine with it.
Yeah, well, if you have the background in judo, I think because that's like because I did Japanese jiu-jitsu, which is very similar to judo, and a lot
Yeah,
of it is how you're falling, and so essentially that was the perfect thing for a young aspiring pro wrestler to get into previously, because I think by doing judo, like learning how to bump, was that something that came easy to you?
absolutely. It was just pretty much the exact same thing, just more emphasis on, throwing your body to the ground in pro wrestling.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing, like where judo can really capture that moment, and it will sort of give you that sort of basis of that training for it as well. So, but how far, you said about 8 months into your training, you had your first match. Do you remember who that was against?
Yeah, I was against a dude called Bishop Summers. Um, Good old Aussie legend there. He probably retired about 4 or 5 years ago now, but yeah, he
Mhm.
was my first match. A little PWA alumni right there.
Yeah, right. So he was like the veteran of the match, and he sort of walked you through the first
Yeah,
one, was it?
yeah, absolutely. And I give him full credit to it. He knew exactly what to do. Wasn't too crazy for a first match. It was okay. I also remember that my nose got busted up as well because I think I accidentally hit his elbow something on the way through with like a scoop slam or something like that, and I was just bleeding throughout the whole match.
Yeah, right. So first match and you got busted open hard way, man. That's pretty
That's
crazy
it.
though, dude.
That's
Like,
it.
did that deter you in any way of wrestling, or was that just like, nah, man, this is the shit. Like, let's go.
Nah, definitely not deter me at all. Because I mean, as a kid growing up, I did 11 years of judo. I did about 10 years of rugby league. I'm busted nose is not going to do anything to me. So I was just like, nah, just keep going. This is awesome.
So when you got into pro wrestling, did you have the respect for it that you do now, or was it something like you're like, yeah, like I'm a pretty solid guy, I've done rugby league, I've done judo, this won't be that hard, or did you go in there thinking, okay, this is going to be something pretty crazy, this training that I'm about to experience, or
I wasn't saying that was going to be crazy because like I did all this training with like Canberra Raiders under 20s, with
Mm,
St George under 16s, stuff like that. So I knew I was going to get myself into something strenuous, but I knew I've done you know more hard work in the past. But like there's a big difference because like when I was training for rugby league or judo, like I didn't treat the coaches and the senseis as much respect as I did with all the pro wrestlers, just because I just think um, I've watched pro wrestling ever since I was 6 years old. Absolutely loved it. I could.
yeah.
I was just absolutely obsessed with it, and the fact that I was finally able to do it, I just want to take all the information as much as I can.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, you mentioned being a fan since you were 6 years old. Who was the guys that really hooked you into pro wrestling when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, the first guy that really hooked me in, it was The Rock. Just he was
Yeah.
the absolute man. But then as you get older, you sort of appreciate more what's happening inside the ring as well. So that's when I started looking up to guys like Eddie Guerrero, Undertaker, Kane, because I was a big kid as well. I like look up to the big guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely love Brock Lesnar as well.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like, you mentioned some pretty big names there and some pretty big dudes in that. And, obviously being a big guy yourself, when you got into the business, were those some of the guys that you really sort of studied and learned how like a bigger guy would work in the ring?
Well, I wasn't always this big when I first started. So I was probably about 40 kilos lighter when I started, because I was also like into bodybuilding, fitness model and stuff before that. So I was a much different shape when I started. So I was
Sure.
more actually looking up to guys like smaller guys, but like medium guys like Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger, sort of those guys, but they were going around at the time. So
Mhm.
those were the guys I was sort of trying to say, maybe I can just do his move here and that move there and try to look like them, I guess.
Yeah, and when you did actually start getting in and you started seeing that and you were starting taking bits and pieces, what was your first sort of character like? Like, what was the overall meaning of the character?
Oh God. My first wrestling name was Nathan Ace.
Hmm.
There's a little trivia there. He didn't have too many matches. So I was just pretty much just thrown in there. I was thrown into just this stable for no reason, and I was just sort of just there in the background. And I pretty much had no idea what I was doing for my character. I guess I was a snobby rich kid. I don't know. Who really knows? But I'm not him anymore.
When did the building a character really start to take premise for you, though?
So probably because I took roughly about a 2-year break from wrestling.
Mhm.
And I started training up again in 2016, 2017, something like that. And I was like, yeah, the name, I like the name Lex. That's really good. And then I was at one show backstage, and my promo photo was just, me on my back. And obviously it didn't say Backman then, but then all the wrestlers backstage were like, oh, you got to call yourself Backman. You got the biggest back ever. Just do it. Just do it. It's like, nah, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. And then when I started getting booked on shows in Sydney, like, oh, I really like this Backman character that you got going. I'm like, well, I guess I'm Backman now.
It's a cool name, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to mean Backman, but like, you know what I mean? Like, but it sort of flows. Like, it's a cool name, man. And
yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I really liked about your style, and I mentioned this when I had your tag partner BackPain on, was how you guys come to the ring, with the cocky attitude, the like I'm almost like the I'm better than you type shit. Then you step in those rings, step in the ring, and then you guys just like turn it on and just beat the living fuck out of people. And it's like that sort of cockiness sort of stops once you get in that ring and you start putting that beat down on. And that to me is like, I found it really, really cool and really different.
Well, I sort of appreciate that. I guess the cocky attitude is there, but the same attitude is like, oh, I'm bigger than this guy. Because like every guy in their head just has that mindset. As soon as you walk into a gym or walk into like a football team or whatever, if you're the biggest guy there, you sort of get this little cockiness aura around yourself. And that's sort of what me and Jack get, because we're the biggest guys there.
Yeah. And, like I was actually talking to Jude London and Paris de Silva the other night. They were on the show, and we were having a conversation about what you guys can do in the ring at shows is one thing, but the stuff that you guys do during training is like, what the fuck? Like, they should not be able to do what they can do at that size. And obviously that must be a massive compliment and a massive sort of saying to what your skill set is as well, that you're able to do high flying and different types of moves as well as the power spots.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I haven't really had a chance to display the sort of high flying because I haven't really needed to. But yeah, I think keep up that style as well, because if I go somewhere else, I might not be the big guy there, so it's good to have that in my back pocket if I ever need it.
Oh, 100%. But before you got with Jack as a tag team, you were with Silvio for a while, correct?
Yeah, I was.
So how was that team? So I believe it was the Silverbacks.
Silverbacks,
Silverbacks. So how long were you tagging with Silvio, man?
I was probably tagging with him just short of a year.
Mm-hmm.
We're only really tagging in one promotion, which was Wrestling Go, and doing a little bit in the PWA Academy shows from like late 2019 onwards. But yeah, that was just absolutely thrown together randomly. Celia just messaged me one day, just being like, "Oi, what are we gonna do for entrance?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're tagging together." It's like, "Oh yeah, cool." And that's how that started.
Yeah. And how did you like when she started tagging with Silvio? Was that the first time that you had like a regular tag partner and you were in tag wrestling from there?
Yeah, definitely. And I always find it's a good stepping stone to get into tag wrestling, because everyone everywhere needs tag teams. So essentially, me and Silvio weren't really doing anything, throwing us together. We got chemistry was there. We were slowly building up in that regards, and then COVID happened, and then it all fell to shit from there. But I think it's a much better suit with BackPain right now, honestly.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Silvio. I love you, Silvio, though.
No, look, Silvio is very, very entertaining. As is Jack as well. So, you've got two very solid performers that you've been able to tag with. But when you started tagging with Silvio, like, how was going, like, because obviously you were still, learning the ropes. I think, to become a very well seasoned wrestler, it's going to take you many years to get to that level. Well, not saying that you're at a low level now by any means, but how did you feel going into doing tag wrestling as opposed to being a single? Was that like learning something completely different and new to what you'd learned previously?
It was in a way. It was. I think it was more. Okay, now that I'm tagging with Silver right now, I still need to have practice with singles matches as well. And this is the great thing about PWA, because we do practice matches all the time at training, so it's good to get those reps in as well. But then it's just the whole understand the psychology of tag matches. It's a lot different to just one-on-one. And essentially, I think it's harder doing it one-on-one as opposed to having 4 people in the ring.
Really?
That's just me personally, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've just heard guys say to me previously saying that they find more people in the ring is like more people that can fuck things up, and it's like a cluster almost at times. So, man, but I suppose I can see it from your view as well, because then it's like you can do more with more people there. Like you got 2-on-2, there's different avenues you can go down.
Yeah, and plus me always being the biggest guy in the match, I know exactly what my role is there. Whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy, I'm always going to be the big guy in the match, so I can just play my part so easily.
Yeah. So how tall are you, man?
I like to say I'm 6'3", but I'm probably more 6'2".
Yeah, right. And what are you weighing in at the moment?
So right now I'm weighing in at 132 kilos.
Jesus, that's massive. That's a big dude right there.
Yes.
That is a big dude right there, man. Like,
absolutely. Probably too big.
Dude, nah, not at all, man. If you pull it off, bro, you pull it off, but is tagging right now your main focus, or do you still focus on being a singles performer as well?
I think right now probably tagging's probably the main focus right now, because I really want to get like the legs underneath Backpain right now. So if that sort of gets up and flying, then there's time to do single stuff later on. But I might not be able to team with Jack, for like 5-10 years or whatever like that. But I know I could probably be a singles guy for next 5-10 years.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think as well, like you guys, I was surprised that you guys hadn't actually tagged for that long together. Like when I interviewed Jack. And the way that the chemistry you guys have is, mate, impeccable.
Oh, and people notice that as well, because our first match was at Call to Arms against Jude the Dude and Matt Rogers. And everyone backstage is like, yeah, your chemistry with you and Jack, it's just a natural fit and it just flowed. And I was like, cool. We're onto something here then.
Yeah, just seeing, dude, the way you guys worked in the ring, I thought you guys have been tagging for years.
Oh. Probably that's probably our second match as a tag team.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Man, you guys have definitely done some amazing stuff. But what plans have you guys got for Backpain? Like, where do you obviously see yourself going? Are you wanting to, obviously, let's say perfect world, COVID ends tomorrow and everything can open back up and travel wise and everything like that. What's the main goal and plan for Backpain?
Honestly, just for us to get better and just get as much reps in as we can, because we're still such a new team. I just want us to wrestle Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, just pretty much anywhere that will have us. So that if we can get better as a team and have more reps in, then, our matches on PDO are going to mean more.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the main thing. It's like anything. The more you put in, the more practice that you put in, the more matches you have, the better that you guys will become. And I like the fact that, you want to go all around Australia. You didn't mention Japan or internationally, like you want to conquer Australia. And that to me is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, conquer Australia first off, and then, if something opens up overseas, then obviously we'll take it with both hands. But, we got to learn. It's got to be baby steps right now. Yeah. We can't just, jump head in.
I think it's a pretty marketable tag team, man. Like two big, tough Australian dudes, man. Like international promotions will definitely be knocking on the door, man. You've got the skill there, and you guys definitely have that look. But as far as now putting the tag team together, like trying to put tag moves together and stuff like that. How are you guys going with that at the moment? Because, like you said, you're still a new team. Are you working on trying to put things together still?
Absolutely. Like, I've been watching like a lot of old school Raw. To me, old school is like APA, Undertaker, and Kane. Just watching those two teams go at it and seeing all their double moves, like, oh, maybe if we implemented this or made it a little bit different, make it our own, that's something that we can do. I'm always going up to Jack and like, oh, how about we do this? How about we do this? How about we do that? And then his response is like, man, that's absolute murder. Let's do it.
That's the thing, man. If you got someone as crazy and badass as yourself to want to do it, man, that's the thing is half the battle. You don't have to convince someone to do shit. This is where It's at. Let's give it a try, man. So, but it's crazy, man. But like, who's the number one tag team in Australia right now that you guys have your eyes on?
Number one, it's the Velocities, Jude and Paris. Those two boys, they've been tag champs for well over the year. They haven't had the belts in like probably 90% of the reign, but still they're the tag champs. So obviously they're at the top of our list right now.
Oh, absolutely. You're going for that top tier. Is there any plans or works for a match against you guys?
Nothing yet, but hopefully in the near future. But me and Jack are still new, so we got to start off at the bottom, and then we're just gonna absolutely crush our way through the top.
Oh, absolutely, man. So PWA, they announced their next show in February. I believe it's the 16th. The 12th. I apologize. The 12th of February. Are you guys on that card?
I'm not sure yet. Not much detail about the card has been released as of yet. All we know is that it's at the Factory Theatre. It's on Fight TV, which is absolutely cool. And we're in front of a bigger crowd. Which,
man, it has got to be exciting, man. Like some of those the PWA shows that I've been watching back on OVO Play, man, are just ridiculous. I'm dying to go to a show at Max Watts and seeing how you guys do your thing there, man. But in saying this, man, I was at the last few shows at the Academy, dude, and man, that was pretty fire, man. Like the crowd were absolutely like eating it up from bell to bell.
Oh yeah, and plus it's all the way out in Ingleburn, a train center as well. So if people are driving all the way out there, they are absolutely diehard fans.
Oh mate, it absolutely, and the reactions you guys were getting, but the heat, man. The last time I was out there, bro, that was pretty brutal, man. Like you guys, man, I take my hat off to you guys for going out there, and it got pretty hot in there, man.
Right, me and Jack were smart. We were out there for a minute, came back. That was it.
Mate, that classic big man moves, bro. Go out there, get your shit in, pin him, come back and start drinking some beer, bro.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I wanted to mention, and I did ask you this prior to the show, I saw a tweet from probably back in June, and this is back when the speaking out movement was coming about, and the tweet was basically you coming out and saying that some of the behaviors from a well-known professional wrestler had made some pretty forward advances from what I seen in those screenshots. Man, like being a new guy in the business and going through that and experiencing that, what was that like for you?
Honestly, I didn't think too much about it. I just thought, he's making all these advances on me. I knew of his sexuality. I knew of his past and stuff like that. It's like, oh, it's not going to happen to me. Then it did happen to me. But no, I literally didn't think too much about it. I was just laughing it off because, I can easily say no.
Yeah.
And I guess it's sort of lucky that it did happen to me, because if it happened to anyone else that sort of that wasn't really there mentally or was coming under peer pressure, then might have been a different story. But I was just able to laugh it off. And that tweet I sent out back in June, it wasn't really me saying, oh, I feel bad about this, I feel ashamed. I wasn't ashamed at all. It was just more of a case saying, like, it can happen to anyone, no matter how big or small. And after I sent out that tweet, I got so many messages saying, oh, I had this experience with that same guy as well. And it sort of encouraged other people to speak out as well. So I was happy about that.
And, this individual has a reputation of doing this sort of behavior. So obviously, yourself, as you said, was in a very good mental space at the time, and you were able to sort of say, no, mate, not gonna go there. But man, like some of those things that were in those screenshots were pretty, like, mate, easy up. You know what I mean? Like, not to be from a homophobic level, but just at any type of level, someone hitting on that strong is like, whoa.
Yeah, and it was hilarious because he was married with a kid on the way as well.
No shit.
Yeah, so there you go.
Wow. Like, since that tweet, has there been any interaction? Has he said, hey, what the fuck? Or like,
I haven't spoken to him in about probably 5 years now, so I don't know what he's doing.
right. So this was a while ago.
Yeah, this was a while ago. This is back when I was being Nathan Ace, and this is back when I was probably 40 kilos lighter. Yeah, but like he kept getting booked throughout all these other shows for the next 5 years or so. And it was like, whatever. If they want to do that, it's up to them. But I won't be a part of that show.
So did that deter you from the business at all?
Not necessarily that. It might have been a little factor along there. Like the peer pressure was like, oh, you should have done it. Ha ha ha. Everyone else has done it. It's like, yeah, okay, it's up to you then. But nah, it was more of because the company I was sort of working for, they're sort of renowned to having this guy on the show as well. I'll call it, it's AWE. And there was this one time where the promoter, Psychotic, he was just like, oh, yeah, I got an idea for you. I'm like, all right, cool. Tell me. I want you to drive all the way down from Canberra. I want you to dress up like me. I'm going to beat you in 2 minutes. And then after that, I didn't step into a ring for a good 2 years because I just absolutely said, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's standing your grounds, man, and it's standing your principles. It's, you can't, like, the world of pro wrestling, man, has always had people, I think, like a lot of people that inspire to be involved in the business. You know what I mean? Like it's their life goal to become a professional wrestler. And you see over the history, and one of the things that I was told from some pretty knowledgeable people that, in the wrestling business, there's 3 types of people, gays, drug addicts, or carnies. And sometimes there's some of them are a combination of more than one. And I think, like, you look back in history, and you look back at the scandal from the Ring Boy thing back in the 80s, and the speaking out movement ran rampant mid last year. But there's always been that sort of sleaziness to the pro wrestling world, and I think that when the speaking out movement came forward and people finally started saying, hey, this is not the shit that I signed up for, dude. This is not what I this is not what I dreamt myself being in a kid. You know what I mean? Being hit on by some 50, 60-year-old dude, and that's and think, man, how many people these sort of actions have affected over the years, and the fact that you were able to be like, you know what, I'm good, I'm confident, and handle yourself really well from what I saw in those screenshots. Did you feel like, obviously, the pressure there, but was it just like, other people saying other people have done it? You know what I mean? Like, how does that put your mindset as, like, were you sort of like, obviously you said you tried to avoid the guy and avoid being on those shows. Would you say that was like sacrifices that you made to not be in that situation?
Oh, not necessarily, because the people who are trying to peer pressure me, they're absolute sims anyway. They're not gonna bully or peer pressure anyone to doing anything. So the fact they were just saying that, it's like, yeah, whatever, dude. I could kick your ass anyway. But I don't know. Just, I guess life sort of got in the way after that, because I decided to focus on university, which I never finished anyways. Decided to focus on bodybuilding, which that was a big mistake in my life as well. And then wrestling just sort of came around the corner when I randomly saw an IWA show on YouTube, and I was like, oh, this is actually good wrestling I'm watching, so I want to get back into it.
So, you mentioned that you went to uni, man, and bodybuilding, and I want to touch on those, man. What were you studying at uni?
I was actually studying forensic science.
Yeah, right.
It
How
was
far
just
did you
one of
get
those
into the
things
degree?
where I probably got like probably a year and a half in, and then I realized this is actually quite boring, so, as surprising as it is. It was
Yeah.
just one of those cases where, oh, I got to study something. This sounds interesting. I'll do it without really knowing what I was getting myself into,
Yeah.
and wasted 15 grand later. So there you go.
Jeez, man. That's gotta sting the back
Yeah.
pocket. But also going into that, man, you mentioned bodybuilding. You said there was mistakes there as well. What was your experience in bodybuilding, dude? Because bodybuilding and pro wrestling, I think, goes way back together and very hand in hand for the previous generations.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I was really focused on like getting that sort of show ready, getting stage ready as well. That no one really
Yeah.
warned me about what's going to happen after you get off stage. And especially if I went back to eating what I was regularly eating before I started training for bodybuilding, that I was just going to
Mhm.
pack the weight on. I wish someone told me that because I gained an unhealthy amount of weight. I probably gained about a good 40 kilos within a year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And like, just because you stopped training after a show and you just sort of start carb loading and eating all that good shit, and
I was still training. I was still training, but I was just enjoying food.
yeah, which nothing wrong with that, man. But I suppose if you're not prepared for the after effect of it. But did you find it hard, like after that, like getting that weight back off, like to lose that 40 kilos to get to a state where you're happy with?
I'm sort of because I sort of fluctuated from about 135 kilos to about 120 kilos, and I've sort of found a middle ground as well. Or I'm sort of comfortable with where my weight is at the moment, and I don't look like a fat fuck for someone who's 130 kilos. So I'm quite happy with that right now.
Dude, I'd be happy with that, man. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm 5'6", dude. And like, I've always been one of those people that's like, I go with what the scale is, even though like, I know that you don't judge the scale. And I sit there, I'm like, fuck, I'm 90 kilos. Fuck, but it's one of those things, man. It's like being happy with the state that you're in. Like obviously the last show that I saw you at, you and both, Jack Payne were in phenomenal shape. Cardio wise, you guys pushed it to the limit as well with what you guys were doing, man. But, let's, look at obviously, you mentioned the velocities being, one of the guys high on your list, but who are some of the guys that you've really got on your wish list for 2021?
For 2021, like there's the obvious answers with everyone that's Generation Now Nations, Aussie Open, all those guys as well. But man, I'm
Mhm.
really keen to get my hand on those guys that you don't see on shows very too often. Like the guys like Donny Mako, Jay Sorbet, AJ, Silvio, like all those guys underneath, they're so talented. And we just need that extra platform just to say, hey, we are just as good as everyone that's on the card right now.
Oh, 100%. And like you've got FWA heavyweight title match coming up as well, going up against tough stuff Ricky South, man.
Yeah, thank you, South.
Ricky's a hell of a talent, man. How you feel going up, being able to wrestle him? Have you guys wrestled before?
Yeah, yeah, we wrestled one time last year, just before the pandemic. I think like a week before like all this crazy pandemic shit started to happen.
Mhm.
And I was a little bit nervous before that match as well. Because in my mind, I'm like, if I can't hang with Ricky South, I can't hang with anyone.
Yeah. It's amazing talent.
Yeah,
Amazing talent. And I think that the match that you guys will put on for that show, man, I'm hoping I can get out to see it, man, support the show. Man, I think that that's going to be an absolute show stealer of a match, man.
and that's the goal. That's the goal as well, because it's more likely going to be in the main event, heavyweight belt on the line. Send the people home happy.
That's it, man. That's it. But what's next as far as like, if you decide, or if everything goes to plan and you go over in that match and you're a singles champion, is that still going to be, something you're going to be able to manage, both being a singles wrestler and a tag at the same?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that hard. Then again, it's really hard to say until it's actually happening.
Oh, 100%.
As long as Fighter
And
gives me some good opponents, I'll be happy.
that's it, man. So Kyle reckons Backman for champ, and he's also going to be at the show
Hell
to
yeah.
see it. But man, looking at some of the, the talent in Australia, it really runs, wild. Who would be some of the top guys that you would like to wrestle, whether it be singles, tag, 6-man, whatever? But who are some of the names that are on your hit list?
On the hit list right now, like the guys I mentioned before, Donny Mako, Jay Sorbet, Silvio, AJ, obviously everyone from Gen now. Everyone's just so talented right now that that's want to get in the ring of literally anyone and anyone.
Oh, dude, and that's the way to do it, man. But if you had your chance of international talent, who would you pick?
Oh God, I should be prepared for this. I've always been in recent times. I've always been a big fan of Moose, so I reckon getting in there with Moose would be an absolute big one for me.
That's a pretty unique name, man.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
pretty unique
absolutely.
name, dude. He's pretty, man. I enjoy his shit, man. Like he's pretty good for a big dude, man. Like he can pretty much move very well.
Oh, absolutely. He's a hell of an athlete, and I saw one of his posts in one of his Instagram posts. He said, "I hate working like a big man." I'm like, yeah, so do I sometimes. It'd be cool to sort of show everyone that I can do it.
Is that because like you're, and I, is that because like you're told, hey, go out there and perform a certain way, or is that because you see what you have at the moment with the tag team and being a big man is like you're trying to work as a big man, you don't want to put those skills out there?
Well, I do want to put those skills out there, but then there's a time and place for everything. If I did it for every single show, then it's not going to mean anything. But if I did it like against the Velocities in a PWA Tag Team Championship match, then it's just going to mean absolutely more at that time. So it's the case I want to do it, but I want to be smart in doing it as well because I don't want to do it every single time as well.
Oh, 100%, man. You want to do it when you're going to get the biggest pop and that biggest reaction from the crowd and from the fans, man. So that's undisputed completely, dude. I can definitely see why you would be smart to do it, but I can guess it could get a little bit not frustrating sometimes, but you're just eager, just like, man, I just want to fucking do something really cool right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the craziest high flying move that you can actually do that you haven't shown the world yet?
I've actually done this on one show before. It was at a lucha show.
Yeah.
Can't. You know how there's an Arabian moonsault where you jump? Sami Zayn does it when he jumps on the ropes and does a moonsault off the ropes, so like that.
Yeah.
I was able to pull that off, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is awesome."
That's pretty cool, man. Like, did you do that at 130 kegs?
Yep, absolutely. I think I was probably a little bit heavier then too.
No shit. So you would have been pretty proud of yourself for that. Like, were people like around just going, "What the fuck"?
Well, the crowd, there wasn't the right crowd for it because they were just absolutely drunk off their minds, so they had no idea what was happening. It was for me though. I popped myself.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. That's the biggest thing. If you can pop yourself and the boys and the girls in the back, man, that's the main thing. Like when you came back, like backstage, was everyone like, "Man, that was amazing," or they're like, "Yeah,
There
don't
was
do
no
that."
monitor. There was no monitor, so
They
no one
weren't
saw it.
looking at it. Oh,
There was
really?
no there because there was one of those cases where you had to walk up a staircase to like get onto the stage, and the only people that saw it were me, my opponent, the announcer, and Chico, who serves alcohol to the crowd.
God bless you, Chico.
He can vouch for me.
he can vouch for it.
He
Good
can
old
vouch.
Chico. But like, dude, like, in your years in the business, like, do you have any crazy stories you can tell us that you've experienced? Any wild moments?
Any wild moments? There was nothing really been too wild. Just that whole sort of story from when that guy was trying to hit on me very heavily. That's
Yeah.
really the Oh, actually, there was a Hunter Valley double header like early 2019, and they brought down James Storm. Now,
Oh yeah.
after it was a double header, so James was like, "I'm just having a few beers, sit around the bar. It's like, okay, cool, whatever. I walked around like half an hour later, and no one was drinking beers with him. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna drink some beers with Jay and Storm. So we ended up at about 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
My sister was supposed to pick me up to take me back to her place so I can go back to the show. And then
Yeah.
James was like, fuck it, man, just come crash at mine. Come crash at my hotel. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do that then.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I was drinking beers with the Cowboys at 4 a.m.
Jeez, man. Like, were you guys talking wrestling, or was it just like a wild night?
Started off talking about wrestling, and then he talks. He's a cool guy. He was ended up talking about life and what he wanted, what I wanted, and just man, we had some really good conversations.
That's the thing, man. Did you walk away from that night with anything more than a hangover? Like, did he give you any sort of advice, or did you get another perspective from the business from that after that night?
Definitely more perspective, especially over there. If I ever want to go to America, stuff like that, just it's great what you see on TV, but just after the fact, it's like what do you do afterwards, and sort of stuff like that.
You mean after the career or after the shows?
So like after the career, because it's like, do you have a family? Do you see your family often? And it's like, wow, really, but what do you really want in life? Do you want to be this big wrestler along here, or do you want to be a loving father?
Man, that's the thing. You see a lot of guys, from the wrestling world that from previous generations that have gone through that, dude.
Mm.
I think Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he was at his hottest, you know what I mean? Like he had his kids that he never saw, a wife that moved him to the UK. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you look at the long-term effects of that, dude, when the kids become adults and then you're like, 50, 60 years of age and they want nothing to do with you because you decided to travel the road. And, that's crazy to think of, man.
Yeah, and no one ever tells you day one wrestling, if you make it big, this is what you're going to sacrifice.
Dude, like it's even like when I think it was like sometime last year where even WWE was saying, it's like, yeah, like we own like your real name as well. Like we own your fucking identity if you work for us. And I'm just like, what in the fuck, dude?
That's
like
crazy. That's crazy to think about.
But you know what? That's where like I've had conversations with other people in the past and it's kind of like the thing of doing that is like, hey man, I'm gonna make all your dreams come true. Just sign right here, and you'll be taken care of financially. And like, yeah, sweet, okay, cool, yeah, we own you now. So, like, but that's the thing, man. You seem like the sort of dude that is like you wouldn't let something get to that stage. Like, you're very straightforward in what you want by the sound of things, and what you're prepared to do, and what you're prepared to not even come close to. Do you think if you're put in that situation that you would be able to sit there and go, right, all the horror stories and stuff are going to be like running through your mind, or would it be like, no, this is a huge opportunity, I'll jump at it?
Well, I mean, like, a part of me is just like, oh, like ever since you were a kid, you're watching this company, and if they offered you a contract, that's all for a lot of people, being like, shit, I've made this. I've got into wrestling training to make it to this stage, and now I'm here. And I don't know if I'll be able to turn that down if I was offered something like that.
Dude, I don't think that, dude, you ask any wrestling fan in the world, myself included, would they do it? Oh, no, of course not. They wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I'll sign in blood.
Exactly.
Exactly, bro. I'll sign that bitch in blood. Let's go. Like, what? Yeah, take one of my kids. Take both of them. Like,
take my firstborn.
Yeah, exactly, man. But man, look, we are going to start wrapping things up very shortly. But man, what have you got coming up, man? Have you got any shows coming up and planned that people can come along and check you out, or check you out on OVO Play or any other streaming service?
Well, the only confirmed thing I have at the moment is that FWA Heavyweight Championship match against Ricky South. I believe that's on February 6th at Dural, I believe. Could be 5 Doc, I don't know. And then obviously, just even if not on it, just check out PWA Fight TV, February 12th. That's going to be an absolute banger of a show. I know everyone is going to go absolutely balls to the wall because, first time in front of a biggish crowd. it's just going to be absolutely crazy.
Dude, absolutely, man. I've actually got my tickets, man. I'm gonna be
Cool,
attending that show, and I'm really excited for it, man. To be in a venue, just the Academy shows were great, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it is in that atmosphere with a bigger crowd for a PWA show, man. And I'm really stoked and looking forward to it. But man, where can people find you on social media, follow you, and have you got any place where they can get some merch?
Yeah, so Twitter and Instagram is all the same at Backman Lex. Facebook, just Backman Lex Linux. And obviously on merch, just like everyone else, go follow Wrestler merch. You'll see my big mug there. Click on it, get 30 of my t-shirts. That'll be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, bro, that's about it.
Oh man, that's some awesome stuff. But look, Backman, thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Man, again, I'd love to get yourself back on this show in the near future. Perhaps we can get yourself and Jack Payne on together, and we can have both members of BackPain on Shooting the Shit Uncensored in the near future.
Hell yeah, that's a lot of testosterone on one screen. That'd be great.
That is, man. That is, like, maybe I'll have to make my screen smaller just to fit you both in, but we'll make it work. But guys, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight and watching this show live, and anyone who's going to be watching the replay of this. Do me a favor, people. Please hit that subscribe button somewhere along the line there. Hit that bell so you stay notified for every time that I go live and any time that we release some new content on MWA. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the show. Thank you to our sponsors, A-Rock Designs, Signal Studios, and if you want to head over to prowrestlingtees.com/MWA World, get your hands on some MWA merch, supports us out, helps us put more back into the shows as well. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Backman, it's been an absolute pleasure, bro, and we definitely have to do this again.
Absolutely, Piers. I'll look forward to the next one.
Absolutely, dude.